Greenville's hometown pizzeria is Cucinella's. Cucinella's has 2 locations with great options for lunch, dinner, takeout, and they now offer catering. Dine in for lunch with a slice, salad, and a drink with a friend, or stop by after work and grab a beer or glass of wine while you wait for your to-go order. The best pizza, grinders, salads, and homemade Italian ice is at Cucinella's. Cucinella's Midtown across from Best Buy, downtown across from Sup Dogs, and on Facebook and Instagram. Cucinella's, serving handcrafted pizza since 1932. Come taste the difference.
Need cash fast? National Finance Company is here to help. For over 50 years, National Finance Company has been the small loan specialist with loans from $1,000 to $5,000 with low payments to meet your budget. We're in the business of getting you the cash you need today. Apply online for a loan at one of our convenient branch offices and get your money as fast as today. It's easy. Get the cash you need. For extra cash, visit nfcmoney.com.
There have been many changes in the automotive world. At Phelps Chevrolet, the Phelps boys are here to take care of you. Mike, Daryl, and 4 of Mr. Phelps' grandsons, Wade, West, Allen, and Clay. You see, things at Phelps remain the same. The Phelps team has served Eastern North Carolina for over 50 years. We make your visit easy and fun. We are your neighbors, and that's what neighbors do. Phelps Chevrolet in Greenville. Like Mr. Phelps' great-granddaughter says, come in and get you one.
Find new roads with Chevrolet at PhelpsChevrolet.com.
Check. There we go. A different version of the Holton Ahlers Show, Caden. This week, we decided, you know what? Let's have a call-in show. So if you want to call in, 252-317-1250. Me and Caden are going to answer calls, talk ball. Obviously, Caden, Houston gone. We've talked about it for a while now. People have called into the 5th. They've asked me, who do we like as candidates? So we're going to talk about that. I didn't really want to talk about it while Coach Houston was still here. So let's have fun with it, man. But, yeah, Coach Houston's out, so let's get into it.
Yeah, oh, shoot.
Go ahead.
Technical.
Go now. There we go.
We are just struggling on a live show.
We need clip.
This is not us. We are struggling without clip. But yeah, you mentioned for a while you weren't going to talk about it until Houston's gone. I know we talked about it in the background, me and you. But we went over some names with clip on the last hour. Should we dive right into the names we mentioned, or?
Yeah. First, I just want to talk about Coach Houston. Look, clearly there was a change needed to be made. And so shout out to administration for making the change. It's not an easy one. A firing is not an easy one for a lot of different, first of all, Coach Houston himself, but also he has family, he has kids in this community, but also the players that he recruited, the people that, came in because of him and believe in him. So, it's tough to get that. And so we have 2 callers on the line. So let's go ahead. Cameron in Goldsboro. What's up, Cameron?
Hey, Holton, Caden. I agree with you all, and I said it when I called in the show last week, that a decision had to be made now by John Gilbert, and I'm glad he listened and made that decision. I hate it didn't work out for Mike. I thought when we 2022 or 2021 and 2022 that Mike had built the ship around, or turned the ship around, but we were wrong. And I think a lot of that has to do with failure to develop a quarterback apart from you, Holton, and you weren't even his recruit. I think that's what let him downhill. Now, in terms of who we see now, Garrett Riley, Joe Sloan, obviously I think those are the top 2, but I think in the era of college football nowadays, especially with NIL, we need a coach that's going to be more of like a general manager, someone that can come in, really let the coordinators do the work, really connect with the fan base, the donors, the community. And I believe that Dwayne Ledford is that guy. You have a guy that played under Steve Logan in East Carolina. He's played for multiple teams in the NFL. He has coached at multiple programs in the state of North Carolina. He's coached at App State, NC State. He knows the recruiting territory well. He can communicate and recruit some of these in-state guys that we haven't been able to get. And I think just overall as a whole, with his connections across the country as a football coach, he can bring in these coordinators to come in, kind of run the offense and defense. He can help build our offensive line up because with his offensive line coach experience, I think he could act as like the general manager that we need as a program. Because let's face it, college football is no longer college football. It's really a minor league. It's minor leagues for the NFL. You're paying these guys. So I think if we look at it that way, I think Dwayne Ledford probably fits all the boxes. But if that didn't work out, obviously Garrett Riley, Joe Sloan. And then I'll just end with this, guys. I was one of the people that said I'm done with this program unless a change is made. And there was a lot of people I sit with in Section 8A were the same way. A lot of people call and show were the same way. Well, now the changes has been made. So I challenge everybody that was boycotting this team to show up to Dowdy Ficklen Stadium on Saturday. I will be there. My family will be there to support Blake Harrell and this team. That's all I have to say, and interested to hear your thoughts about the Dwayne Ledford scenario.
Well, I'll hit off first, Cameron, what you mentioned, Houston's biggest fail, and something I was trying to sound the sirens off as much as possible since the end of 2022 is the quarterback situation. Houston, the biggest failure was around the quarterback. I don't think he recruited a quarterback after Holton Ahlers. I thought that's where everything was going to go downhill for his time at ECU after Holton. The general manager thing for Dwayne Ledford, I'll be honest, I was not the highest Dwayne Ledford guy. I think Holton sold me a little bit in the last 30 or 40 minutes. My biggest concern with Dwayne Ledford is probably the NIL. He hasn't been in college football for a few years. I know Gilbert mentioned big thing is going to be how can you navigate the NIL. Do I think there might be a learning curve for him? Maybe. But what fires me up the most about Dwayne Ledford is being an ECU guy. That was the one thing to me in Holton is like, you guys call in every week. And it's important to us as well as building that culture. We're not going to be an NIL powerhouse. You know, we're ranked probably in the bottom tier of the American and NIL money. That's just the facts. And I think for us to get back to where we want to be, it's going to have to be a culture program. And he's also a guy, I don't think, if he has success and we turn ECU and the ship around like we wanted to turn around, he's not a guy that's going to be out of here in 4 or 5 years. This is his dream job. I think he's going to stay for a number of years.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I think he's the number one guy you go after. If you're looking for, and your concerns with the NIL is, look, what is NIL? Look, he doesn't have experience paying players and him deciding that. But head coaches really aren't doing that much anyway. They're the ones just getting the money to come in. People in North Carolina and ECU alums will love Dwayne Ledford. I got recruited. He was the offensive line coach at NC State when I was there, and I've mentioned multiple times on different social media outlets. All he talked about when I would go on state recruiting visits was ECU. And he loves this place. He was here in the 90s. He understands it. I recommend everyone go out there. Jeff Connors does a podcast, and he interviewed him. If you just look up Dwayne Ledford ECU and it'll pop up, listen to that podcast and listen to his passion of ECU. Now, I'll tell you this right now. The one flaw everyone's going to say is he hasn't called plays good. He's been a coordinator before. He's a head coach. He doesn't need to be. Let him be this culture builder guy that people around this area love. Caden, we got James in Greenville on the line. James, what's up, man?
Hey, guys. It's great to get a chance to talk to you guys again. I've been really enjoying what you guys have been doing the last couple of weeks on the podcast, and we're really excited that you guys were going to let us have a little time to kind of input things in real time. Things, and I think this kind of talks a lot to what you guys were talking about just now, and even some of the other points that were raised. ECU for so long has been about not just winning, but building character and building, strong young men in our athletic department. At Holton, I remember you talking a couple weeks on the podcast about how much, like, playing under Coach Houston made you a better person, and Coach Godwin was really big on that. Coach Ruff was big on that. I mean, even Coach Dye, going way back in the day, was big on that. But I guess the bigger concern, though, is that when you look at some of the biggest programs, that are having success, places like Auburn, places like Miami, places like Texas, there's the emphasis is all on production. It's not about what kind of person you are, what kind of student you are, what kind of young man you're going to develop into. It's all about how much can you do for our numbers and how much can you do for us winning. And I'm curious as to your thoughts, like, in the current environment with the portal being the way it is, the NIL being the way it is that a choice that ECU is going to have to make? I mean, again, I don't think that we're anywhere near the realm of, New Year's Six bowl games and fighting for that, at least not yet. But I mean, is it going to have to be the choice between building, character and building people and production? And if and if that is kind of the reality, I hate to say it, but what direction do you see ECU taking?
Yeah, first of all, James, thanks for calling. I know you're a fan of the pod, so appreciate the support, man. This is where I think this is the biggest coaching hire in the history of ECU football for this reason. Things have changed so much. And I will say this, and I've told Caden this off air. I never said it on air, when Coach Houston was here because I respect him too much. But Coach Houston got hired here when there wasn't NIL and there wasn't transfer portal to the extent it is now. He was a culture building guy where you came in and you either fit in his culture or you got pushed out. And he could build with the guys that stayed in it, and the guys who lasted made a really good team and made a really good program because they've been through the fire with Coach Houston. When NIL comes around and transfer portal and they take it away, the 1 year sitting out rule from transfer, so now there's no penalty to transfer. So now if you don't like what he says, you can just leave. That's where Coach Houston started to fail. Everyone can say, he didn't recruit a quarterback, and look, he didn't. And the numbers say he didn't recruit a quarterback. It started when the NIL and the transfer portal came up, and there wasn't a delay in a penalty in transferring. Okay, do you kind of see what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I still think he had a shot at the quarterback. I'll hold him to the quarterback situation as long as I live. One thing though, talking about production now versus building, I think it's going to take building regardless. I think we have a great foundation for a team that just fired their coach. I really do. One thing that scares me about Ledford, though, that I just thought of when he said, production now, is Ledford's not going to bring in any outside transfers. I know that any head coach you bring in that's a coach now in a coordinator position, they're going to bring in maybe a few guys, but they're going to be a few good guys. And that's one thing, Dwayne Ledford isn't bringing with him. And that's one con I'm going to chalk him up on. But the pro of his is the offensive line. He's going to recruit some good offensive linemen, and that's what fires me up as well. So those were two pro cons, like productivity now versus later.
Yeah, and then, with Dwayne Ledford, then we'll move on to Joe Sloan. I know a lot of people in the comments are saying that, but Dwayne Ledford is an offensive line guy. If you look at the history of ECU football, the one weakness is the offensive line. Just not saying each team had that, but just generically the weakness is the offensive line. Let's bring in someone who is an offensive line guy, who the fans will love, who's a 90s pirate, who understands that. And then also, man, is he can recruit, and it doesn't even matter. He can recruit these coordinators to come in and just say, you know what, this is your thing. I'm going to be the manager of the culture. I'm going to understand that. And then this is yours. You don't got to worry about me stepping on your toes. And I believe that's why he's a really good fit. Joe Sloan, Caden, you're big on him. You can start off the talk there.
Yeah, I was pretty big on Joe Sloan just off him being a student of the game. Me and him have very similar playing careers. We were both backups. We were both guys that sat in the back, and really were just students of the game. We never had a chance to be the guy, or probably we're never going to be the guy, to be honest. But that's what I love about him. He developed into the guy I thought I was going to do after college, become a coach, but I just didn't want to do that. And he falls under Skip's tree, and that's what also fires me up, is that ECU background. He knows Eastern North Carolina. I think that's huge for this hire. Again, culture is going to be huge, and we'll harp that over and over. I know I've harped that already, but having the Skip Holt's tree, I think he's going to have a lot of coordinators go after Holt. I think there's going to be a lot of guys off that Skip Holt's tree that he's going to go after and have a chance to bring in under him as well. Another big thing, and I know you're concerned about this, and you it's actually one of your knocks on him, is he's going to bring guys from LSU. He's going to bring some guys at LSU that maybe aren't going to be a starter right now, or maybe they're just not going to be the guy next year. Maybe there's some, just whatever reason, they're going to have to leave LSU. And I know you knock on LSU, so you want to hit your knock, or
my thing is, you're talking about NIL and and recruiting and stuff like that. My one thing on Joe Sloan is LSU has unlimited everything. They have unlimited recruits want to go there. They have unlimited NIL. They have unlimited talent. So being successful there isn't my wow, he's a really good coach. What have they done before that is my type thing. He got fired when he was with Skip Holtz, actually. Now, I think Skip Holtz is a really good coach. Joe Sloan's a younger version of him. It seems like he's from that same tree. I do love that he's a pirate. I do love that he's young. I love that he's a quarterback coach, and a lot of good quarterback coaches end up being really good head coaches. But it's just one of those things for me that you're at LSU, you have infinite everything, and that's my biggest worry.
I understand that. I totally get the everything aspect, but I like the aspect of, I know we haven't went to Riley yet, of at least Sloan and Ledford, because they've had those career road bumps. Yeah. They've hit that career road bump, that kind of point where you get fired, you get let go, or you just step aside from the program, and they've bounced back since then. Riley, I actually don't think it's a realistic shot we get him. I just don't think we have the money, and in the past, I just don't think it's going to happen. But that's why those two candidates stick out to me so much. Is one, they're a pirate. They got that grit factor to them. They've been successful. then they have that bounce back story. I think that's huge.
Before we get to the next one, I just want to give a shout out to Anson Belts. Over 10,000 combinations of micro-adjustable holeless belts. Go to ansonbelt.com. Caden, you're a big Anson Belt guy.
Huge Anson Belt guy. I love it. It's getting, fall this time of year, and I gained some weight. I don't know about you guys if you fluctuate your weight like I do, but I love being able to loosen it up and tighten it back up in the summertime.
Shout out to Anson Belts and Clean Eats, Caden.
Clean Eats, Arlington and Red Banks. Arlington Village and Red Banks. It's tough on the live, but go to Clean Eats. I'm always there, especially during the week. I hate cooking. I hate cleaning. Clean Eats, you get a quick meal. It's healthy, and I love it.
Last but not least, Kairos Float and Wellness Studio, 2800 East 10th Street. Go to kairosfloats.com. I float there at least once a week, and they got sauna, cold tub, and salt and halo therapy. It's pretty freaking sweet, man. So go check that out. They're new. Appreciate them. Caden, it was my top guy. I think Ledford's my top guy. Your top guy. Go ahead and go to him. We talk about him. Seems like a lot of people on social media has ECU connections. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're talking about Garrett Riley?
Yeah.
Oh, Joe Sloan was my top guy, but then you kind of convinced me in the last 40 minutes to an hour that I think Dwayne Ledford's my top guy now. I think if we get together as a program and we want probably the most high-key, marquee coach, it's definitely Garrett Riley. I question if we can get enough funds for him because I know he's going to have a lot of top schools coming after him after a successful year. He's had this year having one of the top offenses. He's always had one of the top offenses at SMU in 2020, SMU 2 years, and then TCU. He's coached in a national championship game. That's a huge, huge thing. That's why I think he might just be a little too marquee for us right now. I think he's going to have a lot of big...
Still go after him, though.
I agree.
He's the guy, go after him.
I think he's going to have a lot of big names calling him. He did have that bumpy year last year that you mentioned. We're looking for that bounce back, but 9-4, I don't really call that like...
At Clemson, though, it's tough. Everyone's calling for his head. And look, I like that they had that bad year. One thing that I really like about Garrett Riley is he had to deal with... Dabo doesn't take transfers. And I like that personally because he's had to deal with guys I'm going to develop this guy no matter what. And that's why I really like Garrett Riley. Look, he's an ECU guy. He actually recruited me. He was like the receiver GA when Lincoln was here, when Ruff and all them were here. So I like him a lot. Ledford's my top guy. If you can't get him, get Garrett Riley.
Let's talk about that for a second. I'm going to kind of take a step back, and I kind of thought of something. You mentioned playing, and I thought of quarterback. How important is it for you? When we were quarterbacks, we had one quarterback coach that was a quarterback, and we had one quarterback coach who wasn't. I liked them both. I thought they were both great coaches in their own way. But what's the difference, getting coached by an actual quarterback and a guy who understands it versus a guy who, maybe didn't play quarterback or actually quarterback in the same era? Or, you know what I mean? Having
a true quarterback coach who was a quarterback, is extremely important. And I had one when I was in Seattle, and then Coach Peterson when we were here, and they just understand a little bit more. Not a knock on Donnie, but having someone who played the position and understand it is huge. We have Jack at the pirate ship. Is this Jack?
Jack is reporting live from the pirate ship.
Let's go, Jack Powers. What's up, brother?
I got a couple things on my mind. The first one, obviously, I think we feel similar ways. Can't say enough good things about Coach Houston. It's sad, but it's just the nature of the beast these days. And it's a business for sure, like everyone's been saying. So, obviously, I send my love out to him, though, and everything he did for me, I'm grateful for. But kind of moving forward and turning the page, 24-hour rule, I'm stoked for Coach Harrell. I think if you played for him or someone like you who might have been on the other side of the ball but on the same team as him, you know that he is always one of the most prepared coaches, and he can most definitely motivate the players. So I'm excited to see the boys come out Saturday and kind of – I know obviously they definitely have a chip on their shoulder now, and I think Coach Harrell's a great guy to keep them together and try and take them to win a bowl game.
I'm pumped for it, Jack, and I want to get your thoughts on who you would like to see the Pirates go after in the quarterback race. Because not in the quarterback race, in the head coach race. And for people who don't know, this is Jack Powers. He was a linebacker here. You know who Jack Powers is. I was making sure they knew who it was. Jack, who do you like?
Well, I think the first thing that's important about this, and we've talked about this the past day or so, is the timing of it. And I don't think this should be a decision to be rushed, obviously, but I for sure don't want to see us fall back behind and near the end of the season when people start making hires and we're sitting here without our minds made up. And I don't think that'll happen, but I just want to make sure that, you know, we're ahead of the curve already. We were the first ones to fire a head coach in the college football season, and I think it's very important that we stay ahead of the curve and we get the first dibs on who we actually want and can attain.
So who do you like, though, Jack?
I mean, Dan Campbell Jr., Ledford sounds pretty good to me, but
Let's go.
I like his grittiness. I like his ability to build the culture. I would be lying if I said I knew everything about him, so I got to do more research myself. But, I mean, initially, too, obviously Garrett Riley, and I think Caden made some great points right there just talking about how actually attainable that might be. We don't know. But I think he had success at TCU. I think Clemson, he kind of ran through some adversity last year, and people wanted him and Dabo out of there. And right now, I think they're a top 10 or top 15 team in the country, and they're being successful. So, obviously, those two guys are at the top of my mind right now. But like I said, I for sure want to do some more research before I say anything actually meaningful.
For sure, Jack. Appreciate you calling in, brother.
Yep, later, boys.
See you. All right, and then we got Wyatt in Greenville. What's up, Wyatt?
Hey, how's it going, boys?
Good, man. What do you got for us?
So my quick question, if Blake Harrell does do a very good job, I know it's not going to happen, but say we win the remainder of the season, do you think he could potentially stay on as the permanent head coach, or they'd still try and find someone new?
I think he's going to get a look either way if they're successful at all. Now, if they win every single game, Caden, he's probably going to get a heavier look. But, look, I love Coach Harrell. I said it earlier on the show before we started this show on Pirate Radio Live. I said I think Coach Harrell's going to be coaching for ECU next year, one way or the other, as the head coach. It just depends, man. If they go out and go undefeated and win a bowl game, and how many losses do they have right now? 4. So if they go 9-4, yeah, that'd be pretty impressive. Now, look, these games are winnable. Other than Navy, like every game's winnable. North Texas looks like a hard game now. So he's going to get a look. Look, he fits the juice, culture, NIL guy, but do I think we have a lot of other options out there that we've already talked about and some we haven't that could be probably better? Then, that's another story.
I agree with you. I think there's only one way he actually gets hired as his head coach, and it's kind of like a Georgia Tech situation, except he has to win all the games. He has to win them all. He has to win the bowl game, and I think you have to hand it to him. I don't know. It's hard to I know they're winnable games, and we've said every game this year is winnable, and it seems like they're not winnable actually. But if he wins out, I don't know, whatever the 9, 10, I think it's 9. Maybe 8. I think he gets a real shot. I don't know you hand it to him. I'll take that back a little bit, but I think he has a really, really good shot. One thing I'd like to talk about is going through this situation. We've been through this situation, me and you. There's these guys probably, and I know what we felt like we only had one game, but there's your whole back against the wall. Your season feels over. So there's two ways. Harrell's a juice guy. He's fun. He's so much fun to play for, and I know everyone's like he gave up a lot of points. Guys rally behind him. He's a lot different than Coach Houston. Coach Houston, everyone kind of knows he's a different personality. He's a drier guy.
Stern military type.
Harrell's totally different. He turns on the music. He gets the guys fired up. He talks to you. So talk about that. How do you feel like the guys are coming into this week now with Harrell? I know how we went through it, but unless you want to talk about the past. But
yeah, they're ready to go. And me and Caden did go through, obviously, Coach Mo's firing, and we had one more game left. And, Coach Hale's going to make it fun. But, look, they also have a lot to still play for. They can still make a bowl game. Wyatt, so I know we're going on a rant here. Is there anything else you have for us? All right, next up we have Noah in Clayton. What's up, Noah?
Hey, guys. Nobody's talking about Coach Jason Brown from last week. I'm being so serious, too.
So, no, you're the guy on Twitter. I've seen a couple people tweet at us saying that we should get Jason Brown. So I'm assuming you're one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's still a hard-nosed guy, and I think he could build a program. I know that he's a little too out there, but I'm just saying, I think give him a chance. Why not?
I don't think an administration would take the risk on his Twitter. I think the administration's going to be a little too PC to hire him. That's just my thoughts on that one.
But, yeah, Garrett Riley, everybody's talking about. The only thing with Garrett Riley is he hasn't been a head coach, and you're taking a risk there. I don't know if ECU can take another risk. Like, we've got to hit this higher, and if we don't, I mean, we're going to continue to lose fans. I mean, we can't keep losing because last year 2-10, this year we're 3-4. I mean, I'm getting tired of losing. And look, I love ECU football. I haven't missed a game in the last 3 years. This year I've gone to every away game except the Army game. But I'm getting tired of losing. Like, this program, the players, the fans, we deserve to win 8 to 10 games every, or maybe not 10, but we deserve to go to a bowl game every year and be competitive and win the American Conference. How long have we been in the American Conference? We haven't even been close to winning it. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't understand.
I mean, I'm right there with you, man. And that's why I think, like I said, I mean, it's probably the most important coaching hire in ECU football history for that reason. It's a new world of college football, and it's our first time getting a crack at hiring a coach in this new world of it. That's why I'm so big on Dwayne Ledford. Look, you look at ECU's baseball program. We lucked up and got an alum who will stay here until who knows how long. I mean, he is literally like, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to win here and we're going to win championships here. I think Dwayne Ledford, in fact, I know Dwayne Ledford is that guy. Like I said, I talked to sources today that said he is reaching out to our athletic administration and he wants the job. And if he got offered, he would take it in 2 seconds. That was without discussing money at all. That was just talking about East Carolina and being the head coach here. So that's why I'm big on him. I think he'd be a perfect fit for it. You got anything else for us, Noah?
No, that's all I got. But, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he's definitely a ECU guy, so I know he would do whatever it takes to try to get this program to where it needs to be.
100%. Thanks for calling in, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
252-317-1250. Call in. We next have Kenny in Blunt's Creek. Kenny, what's up, man?
Hey, Holton. Hey, Caden. Look, just listening to everybody talk, and we saw the writing on the wall. Mike Houston's a good man. I think he did good things for this program, but the last year was dismal, and this year getting the blowouts from Charlotte and, of course, Army, they just sealed the deal for us. So now we got to move on. I believe we need to find a successful head coach somewhere that's willing to step up to East Carolina and that can bring some of their players with them, because in this age and time, we've got to shore up some people, because next year we're losing a lot of people on the offensive line, defensive line, and we've got to get that right. So we need to hire a coach that can maybe bring some guys with him and like you said, put the juice back in the program. My last thing I'd like to talk about is Holton, Caden, y'all are players. What kind of mindset and what would you be telling your teammates over the next couple of days about, hey, guys, what do we got to do to finish this season and be a success? Because it's still there. They just got to want it and execute. And I'll hang up and listen to what you guys have got to say.
Kenny, before we hang up, do you have a head coach right now in mind?
Well, of course, you'd like people like Garrett Kidd, and you would like I'd like the Major Applewhite. Man, what he's doing down there is South Alabama.
Yeah.
It's really exciting watching him. I mean, they put the hammer down on App State that moment.
Yeah, he's the guy that recruited me actually at Houston. So I'll reach out to him too. I already reached out to Dan Mullen today, or literally probably 30 minutes ago, and home for a response. So I know Ledford's interested. I'll let people know as soon as I can hear anything about Dan Mullen, and then also I'll reach out to Major Applewhite. I haven't heard that name yet. He is doing really successful things down there at South Alabama, though.
I think there's a lot of good coaches out there that are not coaching right now or could step up to a better program, which I hope we still think East Carolina's a better program than some of these other places.
100%. We'll see.
We'll see. They just need to look at some of these people, because look, we can't wait around too long either, because there's going to be a lot of head coaches let go in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's an important time to do it. Kenny, I appreciate you calling in, man. I like the Major Applewhite thing. I totally forgot about him. That's a good call out there.
All right, man. See y'all.
See you.
Yeah, I'll mention that. I totally have my blinders on. I didn't realize Major Applewhite was out there. I totally forgot about him. That's a great call out by Kenny. I guess my question is, and this is something Blake Harrell told us once. We asked him, why didn't he leave East Carolina when he had a chance, a top 25 defense, top 30 defense? Why didn't you go? And the new age of NIL in college football, I think a lot of coaches might be leaning back to this way. It's so hard to rebuild. It's so hard.
Yeah.
Why would I leave so I could rebuild? I know it didn't work out this year for him. But that's one thing when I'm thinking of a coach. And I know money speaks. Shoot, you offer me double my salary, I will be out to my competitor or someone else the next day probably. I totally understand that. I bet all of us would. But that's just one thing I'm thinking. What do you think of a head coach today?
I mean, it's just a different world. We've said that. We have someone on the line, so we'll talk about it here in a second. First, I wanted to give a shout out to Worth Chiropractic, 2 convenient locations on Arlington Boulevard, 1-800-BACK-DOC. Give them a call if you have normal back and neck pain, or if you're an athlete, Caden. We're both former athletes. I have terrible back, so I go all the time, Caden. So shout out to Worth Chiropractic, 2 convenient locations on Arlington Boulevard. Now we got Hunter in Raleigh. What's up, Hunter?
What's going on, guys?
Nothing much, man.
I got a question. I may have missed this because I just got back home from work a little while ago. But do you have a preference, Holton, of if ECU hire? Do you think they should hire a more offensive-minded coach or more of a defensive-minded coach to take over the program?
I think this time you go offense. I think defense, you went with Houston and with transfer portal and stuff. Just offensive guys usually are typically more relatable in a way. Now, Coach Harrell's, he is very relatable. I'm not saying that, but like as an offensive guy, you can always just talk junk to the defense. If you get a defensive guy, it's more of like a hard nose, like, I don't know, it's just a vibe. As a former player, Caden, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're asking 2 quarterbacks. It's offensive guy all day long. There's no way I'd ever choose a defensive coach. One crazy thing I always think of about before I get into that, college football is an offensive game compared to the NFL. The NFL is way more of a defensive game. What I always think of for a coach is, all right, if I am a head coach, I'm an offensive guy, I can always outscore. I can score as many as possible. All you have to do is get a stop or 2 on defense. College is more like that than NFL. If I fire my OC, I can call the game. If I'm a defensive coach and I fire my OC, you're pretty screwed. That's one of my thoughts.
No, 100%. Anything else, Hunter?
No, and I think the one sleeper I kind of had for the job, I saw an article yesterday. I think I forget what article, but I think they mentioned the Louisiana Monroe coach as a possibility as well. I would think that would actually be a pretty solid hire from a program like that.
Who is it? Do you know his name? Caden's looking it up right now.
I'm trying to find the article that was yesterday.
Look it up, Caden. Who's the head coach for Louisiana?
I did not know that off the top of my head. Brian Vincent.
Brian Vincent. Yeah, I mean, he has done a good job there. I think there's one of our statistics that me and Caden talked about was doing a lot with a little, and he certainly has there. And that's why that excites me is because, look, just from sources within, we got to do better NIL. We're on the bottom tier, if not the bottom, in the conference in NIL right now. So yeah, you got to find someone who, that's why the Joe Sloan thing worries me a little bit, because they have unlimited NIL. If he comes here and looks at our NIL, he's gonna be like, this is all we have. Whereas if you get someone from a lower tier or didn't have any at all, and they look at it and you're like, wow, we got this much to put a team together. So that's something that I like about, bringing someone up from the bottom tier.
Yeah, I think I go back on it. I think I just have a complete blinder set on. I think this guy does look like a good guy, except he's only been a head coach for 2 years. 1 year at UAB, 7-6. And then he's still in his first year at Louisiana Monroe. So I wouldn't really want to take a guy at Louisiana Monroe in his first year. I just want a guy that cares about East Carolina. I think a lot of fans want that too. And if we can find a guy that really cares and is successful, that's kind of where my mindset is. I do love hearing these other options. Like Major Applewhite is an outsider with Bill Clark that I really like as well.
Anything else, Hunter, before we let you go?
I was doing research too on Ledford. I think Ledford would be, if you want to build like the culture back, I mean, that's where I think that's probably the hire. If you're going to say, we want to build the culture back of Pirate football, we need somebody that's, like you say, homegrown to come in and be kind of like a, just that driving force to push ECU football that actually played for ECU.
Yeah, in the 90s offensive line. I mean, he's a guy that literally understands the culture and will make when you go talk to Dwayne Ledford, you're going to feel like you're talking to an ECU alum, and you're going to know it, and you're going to feel like you're someone from North Carolina. So thanks for calling, Hunter.
One last thing before you get to the next caller. I think one reason me and Holton are so passionate about an ECU guy, if it's Joe Sloan or Ledford, I think because of last week, the apathy everyone felt when they were calling in last week on 2 days ago. Everyone felt like we should have lost Army. It shouldn't feel that way. And that's why I want an ECU guy to really reframe that culture. I know a major Applewhite can do that, but I want someone that actually is passionate about this area.
100%. Drew in Zebulon. What's up, Drew?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Huge fan of what y'all do here, and just wanted to say that first off, and also just hoping to implore all the fans to come out and still support the team on Saturday. Huge difference maker when we do, and there's nothing quite like Dowdy rocking on a Saturday. I guess my big question is, and I love hearing that y'all support hiring somebody that's like an alum hire or somebody that's close to the program. But I guess I'm just kind of curious about what might be some advantages or disadvantages to making an alum hire over just going somebody at large. I mean, I know some of the obvious stuff, but just kind of curious about why we might want to go outside of that to bring in a bigger name.
Yeah, 100%. Now, look, I'm not just like, we got to get an alum. You get a worse head coach because he's an alum. I just think we have three really good guys who maybe aren't. We have one that's or two that are alum, and then one that has connections here, where they are also extremely qualified to be the head coach here, but also have connections here. But if there is someone better, I think, the pros and cons are, the pros are, look at the baseball program right now. We hired an alum who wants to stay here, who loves Greenville, who understands what ECU should be. And I think that's a huge thing. And then I keep saying Ledford, and I compared him to Dan Campbell at the Lions, but look at what Dan Campbell did at the Lions. He played for the Lions. He was with them in hard times. Then he ended up winning, and he wants to stay there and build it. And those people in that organization feel how much it means to him. And I think that is something that is tough to find in college sports nowadays. Now, going outside of that, I don't think that's a negative at all if we do that. I just think we should definitely take a look at the three connections of Joe Sloan, Garrett Riley, and Dwayne Ledford.
Yeah, talking about the alum, too. I think Sloan or Ledford, you will have them for a number of years. If they're successful, they're not going to leave. Why? People don't leave their school. It just doesn't happen. I know Rich Rod did it, I'm pretty sure. You just don't do it most of the time, especially Ledford. Ledford's older than Sloan. I think Sloan got a taste of the SEC. He's probably going to want back in the SEC. But if he could build at ECU into something great, hopefully we're all hoping. But you get to your school, you don't leave your school. It just doesn't happen. So that's one thing I'm big on. I'm not against going outside, especially a coach that's been successful. I think that's why Bill Clark has been on my board highly. He mentioned recently he wants to get back into coaching. I think that's someone I really would look at outside of a major Applewhite as well. Just someone who's been successful. He doesn't have connections to ECU, but I can look past that with the success those two have had in their careers.
And one thing I will say is I don't think that should be a worry at all from any ECU fan or any within the administration is if this coach wins, does he leave? Who cares? Let's just win first and figure that out after.
Yeah.
Drew, thanks for calling in, brother.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yep. B Pays in Raleigh. What's up, man?
Fellas, get a little Monday night action here.
Let's go.
So, you about to talk me into Dwayne Ledford.
He's talked us all into him.
Because Ledford, I went to school with Ledford, so
oh yeah,
I know he wanted to come back here a couple of times. I think when we had some, had some openings.
Yep.
He did well at App State. Did well at North Carolina State, and then of course, with the Falcons. Well, what do you think, offensively, if say Ledford's the guy, and I'm open to not hiring an alumni too. I mean, I think Sloan is there. I like Ledford. You done talk me in. Yeah, a little bit. But what do you think offensively his offense would look like? Would it be similar to what App State did in that run he had there, you think?
See, this is another thing why I think it's a really positive thing about Ledford is he's going to come in and he's going to coach the offense. He won't coach the offensive line every day, but he'll be involved there because he's an offensive line guy. What does ECU need to improve in the history of ECU is the offensive line just as a whole. If you look at the history of ECU, the history of G5 schools, it's always hard to have good offensive lines. He's always had really good offensive lines because he's an offensive line guy. His scheme-wise, this is another positive with him. I think he's going to bring in some stretch zone and stuff, but he's also going to hire an OC that does that. He's not going to be the one calling the plays. And that's one thing, the knock everyone's going to say if you look at his resume is he's had top 25 offenses, but he's not going to be the one calling the plays. He's going to be the culture guy, the ones that players look at and say, dang, that's what's someone who loves ECU and no matter what wants to win for ECU, that's what it's supposed to look like. And that's something that players can look at every single day and strive to be, and that's why I think he's the perfect candidate for this job.
I think he's going to build his identity around the run. There's one thing, though. Like, you're right. He won't call the day in, day out plays, or any coach who ECU goes with is going to call the day out offensive plays. But I think the identity will be that run, that stretch run. I think that's what it's going to be, especially an O-line guy. Like, he's going to want to run first. He's a run game coordinator right now. So I think he's really going to have a run-first identity. What I love, though, as well, is just being able – an O-line coach to relate to an O-line, the weakest position we've had in forever. I love that aspect of it, of recruiting an offensive lineman. Hey, I went to school here. This is my school. O-linemen want to play for O-linemen, so I think that's huge.
Anything else, B-Pace?
No, that's it. I mean, I think that's great. So let me ask you, the offense you just talked, like the stretcher, is that similar to what maybe Garrard and them ran in the late 90s and early 2000s, or is it?
A little bit, just under center. More. I'm trying to think of a team now. Literally
go more probably pistol.
Yeah, no, I'm saying they went under center, like Garrard and them back in the day, or at least a little bit more. It's just more like stretch wide zone. Like some of these like long runs that Keaton would have was a lot of like stretch zone where you would just let the offensive lineman. It protects when you don't have the best offensive lineman. When you have good offensive linemen, you run between, you run straight ahead. When you don't have the best offensive lineman, but maybe are a little bit athletic and can move, you run stretch to get the defensive lineman to move to get a better crease on them, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, I see a lot of the late 90s guys starting to chime in on Lefford on social media. They're definitely
let's go.
Yeah. You probably need to go ahead and get a percentage of that money.
Yeah, I got sent his number today, so we're going to be in touch. But yeah, I was told from a very reliable source that he would accept the job in a heartbeat, and he wants it. His agent's going to be reaching out, so it's not.
You're out here being Jerry Maguire for me.
For sure.
We all have our guys, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'll be good.
For sure. All right, last call, 252-317-1250. Want to give a shout out to Wayne Hardy Law, 1-800-INJURED. If you've been in a car accident, make sure you call 1-800-INJURED. Wayne Hardy Law, personal injury lawyer who treat you like family. It's Wayne Hardy difference. Last, want to give a shout out to Mattamuskeet Goose Club. Country, classy, everything in between. Caden, you're a big fan of Mattamuskeet.
Yeah, they're great. Hey, hunting season's coming up. If you want to get something that you can rock anytime, that little versatility, I love versatility gear. Look at Mattamuskeet.
Yep, 252-317-1250. You want to get in call within the last 10 minutes of the show. Caden, I feel like I've talked to a lot of people into Lefford. There is other people I'm excited about. I think he's the perfect candidate for the NIL era to get people excited about having a homegrown guy leading the charge.
I agree. I feel like we've put nothing but chimed away about Lefford this show. I think you sold all of us. I came here against it with the NIL background. But I still find that aspect of a quarterback coach. There's something about playing for a quarterback coach that is just different. I know we talked about that for a quick second. It's just they get the game. You can talk to them, and they just absolutely get the game.
No, I mean, 100% understand. And someone said, Holton, if offered, would you take the job as quarterback coach at ECU? Absolutely, brother. I actually, now that Houston's gone, when we didn't have an OC, I actually was, when I was deciding if I wanted to play spring ball or not, there was an option at a time where I was either, and Caden, you know this, and the people closest to me do, where I was either going to go coach for Coach Houston on the offense or go play spring ball, and I ended up going to play spring ball. So that actually was an option, up in there. Just make sure, Caden, we got any questions. I'm on YouTube, making sure we're checking that. A lot of people are saying Hilton at Western Kentucky. I like him too. I don't know if he has any connections with this area, which doesn't matter anymore. I'm big on let's build a wall on North Carolina, especially Eastern North Carolina. Let's go get the 2- and 3-star recruits and just develop them and make them love ECU. Let's get some pride back in here. Not saying that's not over there now. I'm just saying if we can get someone, no matter who it is at head coach, that understands that you can win with kids who are overlooked. ECU has always been the overlooked school in a lot of aspects. If you can instill that into people, that yet people overlooked me, and every single time you go out there have a pride of being a Pirate. I think that's some of the best teams that ever played here had that. And I mean, certainly the best team that I played on had that. And, we were very proud of being Pirates. And even here today, Caden, I mean, we're still very proud of that.
Yeah, Paul Shozlik, hopefully I pronounced that right, mentioned it has to be a coach that can recruit a quarterback. I know that's another issue we're having this year.
It is 100%. And look, I mean, this is – Caden, I had offers to enter the transfer portal. And if I was, say I'm at another school and I enter the transfer portal, and Caden, you're a quarterback too, or we're a quarterback, this is a very good situation to be in if you're a transfer portal quarterback. Why would you not come here where the fans literally crave winning? They are looking for someone to come. They're looking for a head coach and a quarterback to come in here and win games, and they will treat you like gold. I promise you, I got hated a lot throughout my career, but also had a lot of love and still feel love today in Greenville. There's a reason that I'm building my life here and staying here and never transferred. It's because of that. It's because Greenville loves Pirate football, and they need someone to come in and love it just as much too. Also, though, I think Caden Hauser has a really good future here.
I know we didn't talk about this, and you were on the call-in show. What did you think of his performance in that game?
I think he was a little rusty going out. He needs some catches. We had some drops, obviously, but he showed a lot of potential. Look, he's a sophomore. People don't realize that. Like, he went out there as a sophomore as his first start at ECU versus a ranked team. Looked a little rusty. They didn't play the best. Do I believe the play calling is the best right now? No, I don't. But I feel like he kind of got his groove, late in the, second half. And that's what excites me is, did he catch his groove where, the next game, versus Temple, he really, takes off. And I hope that's what we see from him.
I kind of disagree. I didn't think he looked rusty. I think we had crucial drops. Army's a team that's going to keep the ball. You have those crucial drops. He had that play that he got the receiver flagged on. He might hit that receiver in stride. I was actually pretty excited about it. I mean, obviously, we got to see how he performs at Temple in the rest of the year, but you never know. He is a sophomore, so if he has a good ending to the year, we might just have one here as well. Rod Gray said, Jimbo.
No, Jimbo's sitting with his $100 million wherever he lives right now from Texas A&M and Florida State, and he is as happy as could be. Jimbo's not coming here.
There's no reason he needs the stress of East Carolina on his plate.
No, and that wouldn't be. It'd be a retirement job for him. He's already retired. He's not coming here. I promise you that.
I saw a couple names floated out. One that stuck out to me was Rich Rod. What do you think of Rich Rod?
I just don't know. I don't like it. I think he's an older guy. Like, there's a lot better coaching candidates than that. I think he's qualified. I just don't think he's the right guy for the job.
Gotcha. What do you think? And I know a lot of people's mentioned it. Opinion: coordinator, first head coaching job, old coach, lateral or above job?
Yeah, I just think I want to say just get the right guy. I mean, there's so many different options to do. Do you go get someone in a Dan Mullen who could be successful? Now, look, the reason I would go get Dan Mullen is because he was successful at Mississippi State, not because of his Florida or anything like that. Like, that's why the older guy, I think he'd be the one I kind of go after there. Another old guy that people might call me crazy would be Skip Holtz. He's won here. If you go after the old guys, I don't think that's what you do. Personally, I wouldn't do that. I would go after my top three guys in order: Dwayne Ledford, Garrett Riley, I guess Joe Sloan. I really don't have a third. Dwayne Ledford and Garrett Riley are my top two, and I think Dwayne Ledford literally wants to come here and wants to be a Pirate. Let's get a Cliff Godwin situation where someone's here and just wins so much and loves this place so much they will not leave.
Yeah, I don't think some of the old guys even want to come here, like Dan Mullins. He has such a great job. Why the stress? Why the need? Unless he's really missing it. And what he's doing on Saturdays, if he's still doing it, I haven't seen him in a few call games in a while, but he's enjoying that. It's fun. I know he's enjoying that than probably the stress of football players, 20-year-old, 18-year-old guys, making sure they're in class, making sure they're acting right. But you never know. Some guys have that passion. Some guys have that fire. But when that fire is out, there's no need of wanting to do that again.
Last call, 5 minutes, 252-317-1250 if you want to get one last word in. Caden, we got 5 minutes left. What do you want to say about your coaching candidates? Obviously, there's going to be a lot more talk about this, but leaving this show, what do you want people to know about these guys?
I just want a guy who wants to be here, and I know that's like, hey, everyone wants to be here, but a guy who's actually not looking for a stepping stone. I'm not looking for a stepping stone. Joe Sloan might be looking for a stepping stone, but I think he stays here. If he's successful, probably for a decade before he takes a stepping stone.
Who cares about a stepping stone? Just get someone where it's work. Get someone to win here, and then figure out if he takes a step up, shake his hand and say thank you for winning here, because every coach here other than Skip Holtz since 2000 has been fired.
I agree with you. It's just I guess it goes back to the core, and I just want to I just want someone that cares.
No, I 100%
and I think
agree.
that's part of it, and that's why some of these guys, like the older guys, I want a guy that's also younger, because the younger guys are more likely. I don't know these guys, and that's why I'm always leaning more toward younger coaches. Is they bring the juice, they bring the energy, they're more relatable. Want someone probably a little less militaristic, and dry, to be honest. I want someone that the locker room really feels like, one, that demands respect. They bring in the culture, but also you can relate to when you need to.
We are going to post at Whole Ahlers Show on X an interview of Jeff Connors and Dwayne Ledford. Watch that if you want to know why I think Dwayne Ledford's perfect for the job. Like I said, he recruited me at NC State. He was offensive line coach. All he talked about was ECU when he recruited me. I loved him then. I think he'd be a perfect for the job. I'm giving him a call tonight. And then someone said Dan Mullen, whether he would interest or not. Dan Mullen was the head coach at Florida when they offered me, so I sent him a text a few minutes ago seeing if I get a response there. If so, I will let people know. And then other than that, man, I hope we get the right guy. There's a lot of people with ECU connections that are very qualified for this job. Do you want to go young? Do you want to go old? It doesn't matter. Just get someone in here who cares about this place and understands the true sleeping giant it is. And that's my final thoughts. Just go get someone who sees ECU as what it is, and that is should be a conference contender every single year and a G5 playoff 12 spot contender every single year. Caden, what are your final thoughts?
I agree with you 100%. I kind of want to stay away as well from the FCS jump. I think I kind of have nightmares from that. I know we had our success. I know we had our successful run. I just kind of want to stay away from that as well. But I'm excited for this. It's an exciting time for Pirate Nation. I know a lot of fans were wanting a change for a long time. I think the apathy was starting to grow in the program. People are expecting loss. It's an exciting time now. We have, people are demanding change, or we're going to support. We got the change. Now let's support the team and see what comes up with. It's going to be fun to see some of the names that are, coming into Greenville, tracking the flights, where they're coming from. So I'm pumped.
It's an exciting time, man. We can still make a bowl game. ECU has had a history of 92 years of East Carolina football. We've made 22 bowl games. We still have a chance to make a bowl game this year, and we are looking for the new leader to lead the program in the new era of college football. You can't ask for more than that, man. It's an exciting time. Donate to Team Boneyard because, yes, that is the world we live in. Go support the guys, and go support the pod at Whole Ahlers Show on X. We post stuff like this every single day. Appreciate the support, Shirley. Guys, thanks for helping out. We'll see you next time.